Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to Wolfinia. This is episode 286 of my Minecraft survival series, and today we are returning to work here in Wolfinia. After a couple episodes of exploration out in our world, we got a lot of work that needs to get done here, specifically on our big project, the biggest structure in our city, the Crown. So we're going to continue pushing out to the far side of the waterside district. We need to get a floor in here. I think what we're going to want to do is have a room that kind of wraps around to the opposite side here, just connecting these two entrances up. That does mean that all this nonsense right here is going to have to go, but that's no big deal. In addition to that, we're going to want a stairway that goes up to connect all three levels of the crown. This is probably a good spot. We can just push it back against this wall. We're going to also want to avoid the beacon beams here. We don't want to interfere with them with our buffs or anything. So we'll probably have this room kind of go and like curve around that, and that won't be visible, possibly. So I guess the easiest way to figure out the shape of our room is to actually go ahead and start getting a floor in here, kind of figure out where our walls are going to be and all that nonsense. Now, I know I've mentioned possibly building something under these outer platforms, but to be honest, I don't have anything planned for that yet. I'm not going to really take that into consideration today. If we want to do that at some point in the future, we'll make adjustments then. But this room is probably going to be closed off to these areas for now, at least. All right, so this is probably going to be kind of an odd-shaped room, but you know what? It's going to serve its purpose, all right? Its purpose is to give us access to this stairway right here. It's going to kind of spiral upwards to give us access to these areas, and it will do that just fine. Once we get the walls in, hopefully it won't look horrible. Anyway, I think at this point, we are just about ready to go ahead and get started building. So let's go ahead and call the drone on over here, put on a little bit of music, and get to work. Ow.
Darling, I've been tempted by the darkness, telling me that I should throw it all away. Fight so hard, my heart is hardly helpless. Find myself so desperate on my knees to break. And I hear the voice of an angel telling me not to lay down, and I feel the spirit guiding
Welcome back, everybody. So we don't have both sides of the crown done. I'll explain why in a minute, but we got this side done at least, and I am actually pretty happy with how this side turned out. We have our stairway right here that wraps around, bringing us up into these bringing us up into these upper areas that connect to these larger rooms. I decided to kind of hold off here and not connect it to this central area because I don't think this stairway is going to connect to, or either of these side stairways are going to connect to this area. If we do build anything up here, and that's an if, this will be accessed by other means. But let's go ahead and move on to this side right here, and I'll explain why I did not build this stairway yet. It's because this side has not been beaconated. You'll notice the beacon is right there, not deep in the ground. I also want to move it back one block, that way it's similar to the other side, because otherwise we're going to have to go in too much here, and it'll feel cramped, and, you know, I kind of do want to maintain some semblance of symmetry between these areas. So before we continue with the building, I do think at this point we need to do a little beaconing. Now, this doesn't mean just lowering the beacons down into the ground and then we're done. This also means building the water elevators we need to get up and down so we can access the beacons, because I am the type of person that likes to make more work for myself for some reason. Speaking of, before we actually start digging and get our beacon down in there, I think there are probably a few more beacons I want to place as well, because there are still places throughout our city that are not yet beaconated. For instance, here in the outer districts, I do think we need to get a couple beacons out here to make sure we got beacon coverage in this area. I think I planned for one right here, but I'm not super set on this. Additionally, we are going to need to place beacons here in the quarantine district. I had some ideas for our beacon placements, so I think maybe putting one right here in the center of this area might be a good spot. I don't know. I think what I'm going to do is take a few minutes to kind of consider not necessarily optimal beacon placements, but beacon placements nonetheless. You know, somebody else might have planned their beacon placements throughout a city like this, trying to make sure there's optimal coverage. I'm over here right now just kind of measuring where our beacon effects end. That way I can see where our overlap is going to be, where our gaps are going to be. I'm going to try to minimize or get rid of all the gaps. Overlap, though, I think I'm fine with. Now, as you know, the beacon project is an ongoing project, one we've been working on for quite a while. We're not going to finish it today because there are still a lot of areas around Wolfinia that need beacon coverage. But I will get to this sooner or later. You know, I just have a lot of projects going on right now, and some of them kind of get pushed to the back burner. This, unfortunately, is one of those, but it'll get done eventually, hopefully. All right, so after some planning, probably not nearly enough planning, I do think I have some idea of where the beacons we're going to install today are going to go. Now, because we are going to need more beacons, we're going to need some withers, and we're going to need some wither skulls to get those. I know we have wither skulls all over the place. I think we do have some at the withering house, but I'm probably going to go ahead and collect more anyway. So we're going to spend a little bit of time at the withering house. We're going to spend a little bit of time in the end getting beacons the easy way. Then we're going to come and install our beacons back in Wolfinia. So at this point, what I think we should do is go ahead and call the drone on over here, put on a little bit of music, and let the beaconing begin.
could show you how to fight them. I could show you how to defeat them now.
Welcome back, everybody. So at this point, we do have additional beacon coverage in here throughout Wolfinia. I even added a beacon over here facing the approach. We do have beacons on most of the straight sections of our circle, like on the far borders of the circle where we do have a straight line for a little bit. I thought we could evenly space some beacons using that as a kind of guideline. However, over here, it doesn't really work because we do have this little platform, and yes, while the center of the platform would be a great place to place a beacon, we plan to, we do have a farm beneath here for Wolfen's Laboratory, so that unfortunately is not going to work out. Additionally, I did move this beacon over, the one in front of the Wolfen's Laboratory tower, over a little bit because it was, directly in front of the tower, and it was blocking the W, and Mr. Wolfens did not like that, so I ended up moving it over just a tiny bit, and I was thinking we could put one right here as well, because what that would do is kind of frame the W, and I'm pretty sure Mr. Wolfens would in fact like that. However, this is right above Raidada, so we can't put a beacon down here, though we could put like a shallow fake beacon, because we don't really need the effects, just the look of it, right? Possibility. But anyway, we do have a lot of our beacons in now. We do still need to go through here and add a third beacon to a lot of these ones that only have two, just to get the additional effects. But, progress, right? It's progress. Progress is slow sometimes, but it's progress. But I think while we will return to the beacon project sometime in the hopefully near future, that's going to be it for it today. Now, though, we need to turn our attention back to the crown. Now, before we begin building up this side of the crown, I do want to return to this section that we have completed, because it's not actually complete yet. It still needs something. It still needs furnishing. So what we're going to do is take a little bit of time to decorate this area a tiny bit, add some tables and chairs and whatnot. So I'm going to take a few minutes to do that, except for that's on the full block level, not the half block, which is what I'm used to. So we're going to keep the decorations in here pretty basic. There's going to be tables and chairs, planters, various little bits of foliage, stuff like that. Very similar to what we have throughout the rest of the crown. Not a whole lot of real detail stuff because, we're not even moved in yet, Once we start actually moving in, then we'll, possibly add more to it. And I do stress possibly, this might be fine, but what we definitely don't want is we don't want it to look bare, And something like this is probably pretty good, I'm thinking. I kind of like that, though maybe we want something on this wall as well. Just a few splashes of color here and there will be fine. Yeah, I like that. Now, as far as the stairways go, I don't think we really need to add much more to the stairways because they already have stuff going on. But these landings right here, these little rooms that kind of connect to the larger rooms, they're going to need a little something. And as a final touch, I think we're going to add a little bit more lighting to the doorways here just to make sure they're well illuminated, that we don't have too many shadowed areas. I think other than that, this area is fine. Back down the stairways are fine as lighting goes, like that. It's mainly the doorways, I guess. The doorways, Just need a little bit more illumination. And I guess while I'm back here, I can show you the beacon beams. These walls push right over our beacon beams. However, they do not obstruct our beacon beams because I did use some stairs and slabs just kind of facing outwards. That way the beacon beams can pass through them. Just so we weren't sacrificing too much space. I need to go collect my wall that I broke. And that should just about do it for this side of the crown. I think we can call this side complete now, for now at least. But let's go ahead and make our way over to the other side of the crown because this still needs to be done, and I am going to implement those changes that we made as we build up this side. So let's go ahead and call the drone on over here, put on a little bit of music, and get to work. Welcome back, everybody. At this point, we do have the interior of the crown mostly done now. Let's go ahead and make our way into the bottom floor so we can actually take a quick walkthrough of this side. As you can see, we did add the furnishings as we went along. There are some slight changes. I raised these shelves up in here, the flower shelves up a little bit. I did the same thing to the other side. But both these sides are fairly similar in their layout and look. Let's go ahead and continue our way up the stairs here to the second level. Again, the furnishings are very similar in this room. They're basically the same furnishings we used inside these larger rooms that we built previously. But, you know, we built them, so I do want to show you them, even though it's kind of more of the same at this point. As far as the top floor goes, you can see here we have the top floor. This area is complete, and we have that wonderful portrait of Mr. Wolfens right there, just to cap things off. But that, I think, is the majority of the interior of the crown now complete. So we made good progress today. Good progress on the crown, good progress on beaconation throughout the city. Would you look at that beacon coverage? Beautiful. Anyway, I do think that's where we need to call it for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please be sure to hit that little thumbs up button. That would mean a whole lot to me. And if you want to see more of Wolfinia, please remember to subscribe. But as always, I just want to thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I deeply appreciate it. And until next time, I hope you enjoyed your stay here in Wolfinia. I will see you guys later.